I remember things that are now only dreams. Time, they say, is a river, and I have drifted upon its currents for nearly a century, watching the world I was born into fade into the mists of history. My memories are not my own alone. They are a bridge, connecting to ages so different they might as well be separate worlds. I sit here now, in the glow of a gas lamp, surrounded by the hum of a new iron age. Yet my mind often wanders back to a time of wood smoke and candlelight, a time I knew only through the voice of one man. My grandfather was born a subject of the British Crown, a young man who witnessed the birth of a nation in fire and conviction. I can still hear his voice, weathered and firm, recounting tales not from storybooks, but from his own life. He spoke of the bitter cold at Valley Forge, of the crack of muskets echoing through the forests of New York, of the fervent hope that fueled a revolution. He wasn't just telling stories. He was passing on the very soul of his generation. He had fought alongside men whose names would be etched into the cornerstones of the new republic, all for an idea, the radical notion that they could govern themselves. He saw a world made new, forged in the crucible of war, and his eyes, even in old age, held the fire of that beginning. I was a boy in the 1820s, a time of peace and fledgling growth. My world was one of horse-drawn carriages, clip-clopping over cobblestones, and news that traveled at the speed of a galloping steed. In the long winter evenings, I would sit at his feet by the hearth, the firelight dancing on his wrinkled face, and listen. He would tell me of his youth, a world without the canals we were digging, without the fledgling Congress we now had. To me, his past was as foreign as a fairy tale, a distant land of powdered wigs and revolutionary fervor. He was a living monument, a man who had shaken hands with a world I could only read about. Through him, I touched the 18th century, felt its hopes and its struggles, and understood that the quiet country I knew was built upon the thunder of his time. Now, as I approach the end of my own century, the world has transformed yet again. The whispers of steam have become a roar, and iron arteries crisscross the continent, carrying people and goods at speeds my grandfather could never have imagined. Great belching factories rise where colonial farms once stood, and cities swell with a relentless energy. The quiet, agrarian world he fought to create has given way to an age of industry and invention. I have seen the telegraph shrink vast distances into mere moments, and witnessed the dawn of machines that do the work of 100 men. The leap from his era to mine is staggering, a testament to the ceaseless, churning engine of human progress. He fought for a new world, and in turn, I inherited one that is perpetually remaking itself. Here in my study, a faded portrait of him hangs on the wall. He is a young man in the painting, dressed in the uniform of the Continental Army, his gaze firm and directed toward a future he can only guess at. I often look into those painted eyes and wonder what he would think of this world I now inhabit. He was a man of the 18th century. I am a man of the 19th. Yet, bound by blood and by story, we are inseparable. His legacy is not written in stone, but in the living memory I carry, a fragile inheritance passed from one age to the next. For in the end, we are all just keepers of the stories that came before, holding them for a little while before we, too, become a story for someone else to tell.
They say time is a river, flowing ever forward, but for me it has always felt more like an ocean, its currents pulling me back to shores I have never seen. In the quiet of my study, surrounded by the shadows of the closing 19th century, the past is not a distant country. It is a room I can walk into, a voice I can still hear. My life has spanned an age of wonders, of iron and steam, but it is my grandfather's century, the 18th, that truly claims my heart. His memories passed down to me have become my own, a legacy more precious than any inheritance of land or gold. I'm a man of 2 centuries, living a life measured not just in my own years, but in the echoes of his. He was a young man when the world was being remade, forged in the fires of revolution. I see him now, not as the stooped, white-haired man I knew, but as he described himself, a boy of 17 in the year 1776, his face alight with the radical promise of a new nation. He spoke of hushed meetings in colonial taverns, the air thick with whispers of liberty and treason. He described the biting winter at Valley Forge, the hunger a constant companion, and the fervent belief in General Washington that kept their spirits from freezing with the river. He was there, a witness and a participant, when the musket fire of farmers and merchants echoed through the forests of a continent, giving birth to a world he could barely imagine, a world I now call my own. My earliest memories are of firelight and his voice. I was a small boy in the 1820s, curled at his feet, listening to his tales. Our world then was one of horse-drawn carriages clopping over cobblestones, of letters that took weeks to cross the states he had helped unite. To me, his stories were epic legends, as distant as the tales of ancient Rome. He would point a gnarled finger at the map, tracing the battlefields with a hand that had once held a rifle, and the chasm between his youth and mine seemed immeasurable. He was a relic of a heroic age, a living bridge to a time of powdered wigs and tricorn hats, while my world was one of growing towns and the slow, steady rhythm of agrarian life. Now, as I sit here in the twilight of my own life, the changes I have witnessed dwarf the differences between my childhood and his. I have seen the advent of the steam locomotive, a great iron beast that devours distance and stitches the continent together with ribbons of steel. I have watched factories rise, their chimneys belching smoke into the sky, transforming the quiet agrarian world of my youth into a clamoring age of industry. The telegraph clicks out messages that cross the nation in an instant, a feat that would have seemed like black magic to my grandfather's generation. The world has accelerated, moving at a pace that sometimes leaves me breathless, and the gap between his time and mine has widened from a stream into a vast, roaring ocean. Here in the dim light, his portrait hangs upon the wall, his eyes seeming to follow me. The painter captured the quiet strength in his face, the ghost of the revolutionary fire still burning within the elder statesman. Looking at him, I realized that we are all vessels of history, carrying the stories of those who came before us into a future they will never see. My life is the epilogue to his story, and my memories are the link in an unbroken chain. I'm a man of 2 centuries, and in the quiet moments when the world outside falls silent, I can still hear the echo of his footsteps, marching to the drumbeat of a revolution that never truly ends.